Good morning, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join us. I know it's an off day, not only for the players and staff, but also a day for you guys to get a break as well. I this morning had some very tough conversations. Starting with Pedro, dismissing him as our manager. I do want to start with commending Pedro. He's uh, I want to commend him for his professionalism, for his care, for his passion for this game and for the White Sox and how much he put into this. Um, he is a friend of mine. He was a supporter, um, which certainly made this decision that much more difficult because of the amount of respect that I have for him. Um, Now, getting to the decision to move on from Pedro, there were a myriad of factors that went into it. Um, you look at, the 2023 season, the 2024 season, winning projections, win-loss projections, and how dramatically below uh, we were in the win column. Obviously, there's a long list of reasons that go into shortcomings. You look at a roster, you look at a chemistry of a team, just the makeup of a clubhouse, a 40-man roster. It is much deeper than simply a manager's decisions. With that being said, there was underperformance, and it's now our job to turn the page and move forward and create an environment for the players that we currently have on this roster and for the younger players that are going to be breaking into the big leagues here shortly, and finish this season with more positives than we've had so far. And we're determined to do that. And with these changes is an opportunity to get this organization back on track. So although a hard day because they're because of the caring individuals that were let go, it's also a step in a new direction. And getting this season to the finish line in a more positive manner. We are going to, this allows us to get more of a head start on the managerial search. We are focused on candidates that are currently with other organizations and in uniform. So that search will begin now. And in the meantime, we will have Grady Sizemore as our interim manager. We will have Justin Jerschley come up from our AAA Charlotte team and coach third base and handle the infield duties. We have Doug Sisson that will be a co-bench coach, and next to him will be a co-bench coach in Drew Butera. And we will have Mike Gellinger fill in for Mike Tozar to assist on the hitting front. These are individuals that represent what the White Sox are all about. They care for the game. They're deeply respected by the players, and they are about the right things on the field. They know what right looks like. The Doug Sisson and Drew Butera are going to help Grady along with the rest of the staff, along with myself. But we are very confident that the environment will be advantageous for our players to show up each day and finish as strong as they can, so we can go into the off season feeling like we've built some momentum for next year.
All right, if you have any questions for Chris, please raise your hand. We've got a number already raised, so we'll go with the questions. Let's start with Lamont Pope.
Hey, Chris. With just ultimately, as far as with Pedro, uh, the progress what progress did you see from year one to year two, and how did that ultimately play a role in making this decision today?
Well, there's I've talked about it in the past. There's a lot of different ways to evaluate a manager and a coaching staff. I think in this case, year one to year two, I was named general manager in September, the beginning of September last year. I spent time with the major league team for the last several weeks. Learned more about the makeup of the major league team. And then as we got into the off season, was able to dive in deeper to other areas of the organization. But through that learning process, I was learning more and more. And then as the season began, it was the first time really to work closely, with Pedro, with this staff, from opening day on, and recognize that there were some misalignments along the way, some different belief systems, and there was lack of production overall. I mean, you look at how many games that we've led early and weren't able to finish, or how many games we haven't been able to come back to get a win. Obviously, there was something that was broken. We know the flaws in this roster. But with that being said, we expected to win more games. We did. And these factors led to the decision. With that being said, there were still some positives in this season with player performances. You look at the Garrett Crochet and what he's become in our game. You look at Michael Kopech and where he was at the end of the year and where he is presently. You look at Andrew Vaughn and the slower start and kind of bouncing back and to be more of the player that he's capable of being. The Eric Fetty development throughout the year. So there were positive takeaways thus far within the environment that was created by Pedro and the coaching staff. But overall, the sum of the parts, the sum of everything. We expect better. We need better. And so that certainly, motivated us to make this change. I reflect back into how we went into the All-Star break, and then came out of the All-Star break in hopes that it would be a reset for players and staff. And, was disappointed how they responded after the break and motivated us to make this decision.
Scott Merkin.
Hey, Chris. Why at this point was the decision? I know you met with Jerry last Wednesday. Why did you decide today was the day? And how important, you talk about creating energy going forward, how important is the manager, in your opinion, to that overall energy for a team, 61 under right now?
Yeah, I mean, the timing of changes and decisions like this are never certain. There were ongoing conversations within our front office and Jerry and others for weeks, if not months, on what's best for the organization moving forward. I spoke about this when I was named general manager in last fall, where there are a lot of layers to this. And it's going to take time. We would like to move quicker. That I think we would like to turn this around as quickly as we can, but we all know that there are no shortcuts to getting where this organization needs to be. So there was an ongoing assessment that remains on areas of the organization that need improvement. And the major league staff and Pedro was part of that evaluation, and eventually, we made the decision to move on from Pedro and the coaches today. So, I would say it was more of an ongoing conversation than picking a date on a calendar. We just felt like a change was needed, and then look forward to building this momentum moving forward for our players, organization, and our staff, and our fans. So, that I think when it comes to hiring a new manager and building out a staff, it is vital to get those decisions right, because if done correctly, and we have the right people leading this organization in that clubhouse, you can accomplish special things. And if there are missteps along the way, there will be shortcomings. And so it's our duty to bring in the right people to lead this organization to where we expect it to be.
How did you decide upon Grady as the interim, and will he be evaluated for possibilities of the next manager's job?
Grady is certainly one of the most respected people in our clubhouse. That was very that showed very early on. Once we hired Grady, how players gravitated towards him, staff members gravitated towards him. He's got a strong understanding of the game, how to play the game. He's very authentic and honest with his communication ability. And so, we felt that Grady would be, the right fit for getting us to the end of September and building this environment that's more, more effective for our players, and to bring up some of our player development staff that are familiar with some of our players and understand, each player and the journey that they've been on to become this major league player, and now to take steps to be more impactful at the major league level. So very much a team approach in terms of the coaching. Grady is a very strong, steady voice that we look forward to having, as the manager to finish off this season. We do plan on targeting individuals for the manager position that are in other organizations, but yet in uniform. So the expectation is to hire someone outside of the White Sox.
Vinny Duber.
Chris, you talk about the conversations about the timing of this decision going on for weeks, if not months. Why did it maybe take this long to arrive at this conclusion? It seems so from the outside that the team has been underperforming and maybe even failing to meet your own expectations throughout much of this season. Why this late in the season as opposed to earlier?
Well, we knew this season was going to have its struggles, based on the roster that we have. And so, when you make a change, you want to be very certain that it's going to be effective. And, there are a lot of different factors, in why a team is underperforming. It could be health related. It could be lack of motivation. It could be just a flawed roster in the sense that other teams are better. So, it takes a really thorough process to make decisions like these. A major league roster is a reflection of, upwards to 5 years of work. So when you've got a manager that's just in year 2, you want to make sure that, you're making the right decision. And as time went on and we were learning more about what the needs are of this organization and where the direction we want to head, it became clearer and clearer that it was time for a change. I spoke about how we went into the All-Star break and came out of the All-Star break and felt disappointed and didn't feel like we were moving in the right direction. There was a stretch of the season where, we just were coming a little short and weren't finishing off games. And then those games became a little bit further out of reach more often. So with all that being said, there is no perfect time, but felt like the time to make this move was now.
The assessment of the players from inside the clubhouse and Pedro and his staff all year have been that this was a real strong group inside the clubhouse, that this was a group of guys that could definitely handle all of this adversity. Do you see making this change now improving upon that, or what sort of effect do you see on the work that has already gone into kind of improving the culture here?
We do have a lot of professionals in that clubhouse on the playing side. And I mean that, I mean that in a way that they respect the work that goes into preparing for games, and you know, I feel like they have an understanding of the adversity that baseball can bring them, and being able to minimize that noise and show up each day uh, to be better or to win. Now, with that being said, you know, a different voice can be, you know, highly effective. Um, you know, being in a clubhouse myself as a player, you know, there's sometimes different just sparks something for the team. I don't know if that's certainly not a recipe for sustainable success, because we're going to go out there and find a manager that lead this organization in the right direction. But in the meantime, we're putting people in positions that we feel like really are detailed. They create a solid work environment and very positive. And we feel like that's the best approach to take for the remainder of the season. So, you know, a major league season can be very taxing for staff and players. Obviously, we just went through an extended losing streak that was very grueling, but we still have, you know, 7 weeks to play, and there are opportunities to find positives within those 7 weeks. And so we approached, and we were putting staff members in a position to finish on the highest note we can.
James Fegan.
Is avoiding an all-time record for losses a specific motivation or goal for this you know, final stretch, and especially trying to make a change here?
Well, I mean, it's certainly something that we would like to avoid. No one wants to be associated to a record like that. Now, with that being said, it has not been the highest priority, being that, you know, we just went through a trade deadline and you know, moved on from players that obviously were attractive to other clubs. But our main focus has been and will remain the future of this organization. So if there are opportunities to help us in the long run, we're going to make those decisions and not get too you know, pigeonholed or focused on this season's record. So, you know, we're more focused on the development of these players and getting a stronger understanding of what we have going into the offseason.
Could you speak a bit more about why it's important for you to target people outside the organization, and maybe what other qualities in addition to that you're kind of looking for in the next manager, and possibly out of purely personal curiosity, who is managing the Knights now?
Well, I'll start with who's managing the Knights now. Pat Listash was taken over for Justin Churchley. And, you know, we're going to have a broad search when it comes to finding the next manager. And, you know, it's going to be a thorough interview process. So, you know, every candidate's obviously going to be different based on personality and resume. And, you know, we're going to go out there, we're going to find the right fit. So to clearly define who that person is or what that person looks like, I think is premature. Obviously, today was a you know, a big day for this organization when you're moving on from, you know, an existing manager, and now the search for that next manager begins, and we're going to create this candidate pool, and then we'll work it down to the top candidates and make that decision. So we're still working on what that process looks like. Therefore, we're still working on the criteria that we're looking for.
Cheryl.
Chris, when you are talking about looking for a new manager, are you resistant to having a first-time major league manager?
Open-minded. You know, I think experience can be valuable. You know, but I certainly, you look at the resumes of some of the managers that have been very effective in that roles. You know, you don't have to look too far to the Cleveland Guardians with their first year manager and his background. So I think it really comes down to the individual. You know, although they might be green on their resume, it might be a brilliant mind and can be an effective leader and can be molded quickly. And then you've got others that, you know, have perhaps a longer history of success at the major league level, and, walk into a room and have instant credibility. And that could be a great fit for us as well. So, I still think it's a wide range of possibilities on who's going to be our next manager. But we certainly are open-minded because we need to understand where our game is, and where it's headed. So, we need someone that does have adaptability, does have the right confidence to be able to navigate a major league season and a major league clubhouse. So, I look forward to this search. I really do. To be able to lead a search for the first time, to find the right manager for the Chicago White Sox is very exciting for me. It really is. So, and I know for others in the organization, they feel the same way. So, although it's a day that brings mixed emotions, it also brings great excitement for the new direction of the Chicago White Sox.
Chris, did you inform the players before it was announced that this was going on? And if you haven't, will you be addressing the team before tomorrow's game?
I've not talked to the players. It's such a private, sensitive subject. So Pedro was the first person to be notified. Now, fast forwarding till tomorrow, I do plan on talking to the players, and some of the new staff, and obviously the staff that's been here. So they deserve certainly an understanding of why the change was made, and they need to know what the expectations are for the remainder of the season and moving forward. If they're going to be part of the Chicago White Sox organization.
Bruce?
Chris, how did you come up with the initial criteria that it will be someone outside of the organization who's already in a major league uniform? Where did you come up with that structure, first of all?
Well, I do feel like that's a fairly broad structure for one. I think it's important to bring in a new voice, a fresh voice, perhaps that's been exposed into areas of this game that we don't currently have in our organization. So, I'm very curious and excited to learn more about some of these individuals, and then we'll get it to the finish line and name the next manager. So, I feel like it's a fairly basic structure, a very open-minded, but I certainly look forward to getting it started.
You assume the timeline will be waiting for sure until the season is over with, considering maybe some of the candidates are under contract and you will not be able to speak to them.
Yeah, there's always perhaps some hoops that you need to work through because you're at the mercy of other clubs, and you want to respect other clubs that are looking to finish strongly, make the playoffs, whatever it is. So, and we also don't want to rush into this, and I talk about not taking any shortcuts, in our decision making. So we want to be as thorough as possible and make sure that we find the right person to lead this organization. I don't feel like, the doing it now gives us a head start in getting organized, start having conversations with people inside and outside the organization to figure out what is the best fit for us. So I certainly anticipate naming the new manager after the conclusion of the season.
The last question from me is, do you concern yourself with this creating some anxiety within the realm of your coaches and your organization's coaches, because you've already stated it won't be someone from within?
I think naturally there's there's the human element of what uncertainty brings people and the anxiety that can be presented because of that. But I need to be honest. I want to be direct. I think with the status of our major league club, most people understand the approach. But the best that I can do is be upfront and answer any questions that they may have, and just be available. And that's the type of leader I try to be.
Andy Seligman.
Hey, Chris. Just given the state of where the team is right now, what do you see as the selling points for candidates, and how do you address their concerns about what they might be getting into here?
Well, rewinding back to when I was hired and the focus of building something special from the ground up. And those were the selling points, and those were the conversations I had with outside people that have come into our organization. Although we've had a disappointing major league season, the mission hasn't changed. The message really hasn't changed. We've got a farm system that is rising towards the top. It's I think a consensus, I would say, top 10 farm system in the game, and some have it even higher. I anticipate even adding to that as time goes on here. We're looking to build something special. With what we've done on the pitching side with bringing in Brian Bannister, and how quickly effective he's been in the development and the acquisition, the acquisitions, and the benefit the organization has gotten with some of the acquisitions, with his guidance and structure and leadership. And now there are other parts of the organization that need to be tackled as well. The hitting has been something that we've struggled with for years. And we're going to do deeper analysis on what is going on the hitting front, and if that means that we bring in people from outside of our organization, we'll do so. We feel very good about the direction of our pitching, where the hitting is an area that needs to tighter focus on. So we'll continue to do that. But ultimately, we've got a new department heads. Finishing up my first year as general manager, our farm system is rising towards the top. We've got one of the best pitchers in the game on our staff, and we've got a center fielder that can change the game. So we've got talent here. We need to uncover more talent and perhaps acquire more talent along the way. We're going to need, whether it be a new manager or staff members, to be on board and understanding and be part of something special. And I think, if we find the right competitor and someone that has a vision, they could look at this opportunity as something that they certainly don't want to pass up.
Is it a tougher sell for somebody who's a new general manager versus somebody who has a proven track record and is in this situation?
Yeah, listen, they have to have faith in the direction of our organization, and that message comes from me and certainly others. I'm very confident that we're going to find someone that is going to be a great fit for moving forward, and with our organization, and filling a need that is a high priority for us moving forward. So like I said, I'm excited to begin this search, and I know that there is a long list of worthy candidates.
Jesse Rogers.
Hey, Chris, I had three quick ones for you. Just back to your timeline, did you mean you hope to have one in place after the end of your regular season within a few days, or after the World Series?
Quite honestly, tough to tell, right? I mean, if we get access to some of our targets, it could move quicker, but you want to be respectful of clubs that are in the playoffs, and there could be candidates on those clubs. So, don't want to rush into this. I want to be, I still want to be as efficient as possible, but we're at the mercy of other clubs as well. So the timing at this point is still a little to be determined.
Sure. And when you cast this wide net, is it also specific to the moment that you're in? meaning at sort of the beginning of a rebuild? Is that whatever qualities a manager can bring to the table, it's specific to this moment?
That's a factor. How does that fit into the total calculus? We're still working through the criteria that we feel like is going to be the best fit for us. But I think it's it's going to be important for them to understand where we sit right now, and also just as important of the vision that we have moving forward.
And last one, and I know this is premature, but I'm going to ask it anyway. To get the right guy, considering where you are in your cycle, would you be willing to offer a 5-year contract? Because someone may want to not just be the point A to point B guy. Is that something you could address?
We're open-minded. I say that if we find a candidate that we've got to provide that type of safety for them, we're open to it. But it's going to start with finding that right candidate.
John Greenberg.
Hey, Chris. You've hired a pretty wide group of new front office guys, and I'm sure you can't say how much the conversations you guys have had about this. Sorry, airplane going by. How much are you going to draw on the relationships that you guys have in the front office, the different front office guys have from their previous jobs when you make this list?
Yeah, I mean that's a big piece of hiring people from other organizations is the networks that they have, and the people that they know, and the information that they can gather to improve your process. So in a search like this, you want to utilize the people that you have, but also people around the game that you have a trusting relationship as well. So but I when it comes to hiring people outside of an organization for any role, you've got a chance at coming up with thoughts and ideas that didn't exist. That's the importance of having the diversity of thought in a group. It helps certainly get to the right decision, or you hope a better decision.
Are you a guy that's kept a list of people you might be interested if you ever got this job as managers?
Yes. I think that most people in my position that just whether they were assistant GMs or directors or just entering front office, that if one day I was lucky enough to become a general manager, I would like these people to be candidates. So I've always kept that list. It's an evolving list, and it will continue to evolve.
Steve Greenberg.
Chris, I'm going to have a follow-up to this too, but a lot of people who've been watching this team, have said, well, what's the point in firing Pedro? He's just part of the problem, or he's not the problem. It's above him. You're the voice of the organization today more than ever. How do you assess the roles of ownership and the front office in this failure that led to his dismissal?
Well, it's a full assessment of, is this the right person to get us to where we need to go? And there's a long list of factors that go into that assessment. Obviously, we've come to the decision that we feel like we need to go outside the organization to find someone to be that person to lead this organization. Whether it be fans or just most baseball people in general, there's so much focus on your major league club, right? And now your major league club is a reflection of years of work, and there are holes on our major league roster and 40-man roster and within the organization still that need to be improved. So I realize that the skepticism and criticism will not stop until it shows up on our win and loss record at the major league level, and that's understandable. I think anyone that's been around to the game can agree that that's the likely outcome of the skepticism. So But that's why we show up each day. You're either helping the future of the organization or you're helping the now of the organization. It's one or the other. It's very motivating for me and it's motivating for others. But certainly realize that until we start winning at the major league level, there's going to be a heavy amount of skepticism.
Okay, and to follow up, I know you haven't been in your role very long, and it's not what you came here to do today, but I want to take the occasion to ask you to self-assess. How do you think you're doing as GM?
I feel really, really good about the progress that we've made throughout the organization. This was not going to be something that could be turned around overnight at the major league level. I look at where our player development system is, led by Paul Yanish and Josh Barfield, and some of the new coaches and the strides that we've made with a long list of players. I feel really proud about the draft that we just had, leading the charge in Hagen Smith, and the process that we used and relied on to come with, to get to our decisions there. We've got a rising farm system, which we're on the pursuit of improving. There are other areas of the organization that still need improving. And unfortunately, it takes more than, more than 6 months, 6 to 8 months to turn around and feel like you're heading in the right direction. So there still is work to be done. Feel very good about what we've accomplished so far, but certainly understand the skepticism of the direction we're going based on our major league club right now. I feel very good about where we're at and where we're headed, but without question, there's still a lot of work that needs to be finished.
Last couple of questions here for Chris. Ryan McGuffey.
Hey, Chris, obviously, this is not a position you want to be in today, meeting us, talking about letting somebody go. But as a young GM trying to build this from the ground up, as you said, is part of that process leading a managerial search for someone that you see fit to go where you want to go? And then you've talked, it's kind of a 2-for-1, but obviously a top 10 farm system and rising, but this team was just here not that long ago with a top 5, maybe top 3 farm system. So why will it be different this time around?
Sure. Starting this managerial search, to find someone that understands where our organization is and where it needs to go, and looking for that strong alignment. It's motivating. That's exciting. And like you said, for a first-time general manager, wrapping up his first year, to get this chance is something that is stimulating. It really is. So I view this as a great opportunity for myself and the organization, and look forward to getting that started. In regards to where the farm system was years ago, and only getting 1 division or 2 playoff appearances out of that, there's the success of an organization isn't just the farm system either. Obviously, you want to have the strongest farm system you can, throughout your whole tenure as a general manager or any organization. I think it is a measure of the health and the direction, but it isn't everything. You need to continue to draft well. You need to continue to develop well. You need to acquire players regularly on the international side to supplement what you're doing with the draft. You need to be sharp when it comes to minor league free agency, major league free agency. You need a coaching staff that can adapt regularly to the needs of the major league club, and that works its way permeates all the way down through the organization. So it's not, if you become the number 1 farm system in baseball, it isn't hey, you get the trophy now. But it is a good indicator. But you need to stay at it. You can't lose sight of the baseball, right? I mean, you've got to continue to remain focused and find ways to either help the team, help the major league club now or for the future, and that you can never waver from that.
Bruce?
Chris, how many years do you think you're away from being able to plug in free agents after growing your organization and being able to put in, players who have come through your organization. How far away would you say you are from that?
We're I wouldn't say we're too far. It isn't going to be right now. It isn't. There's a maturation to players in our minor league system and our 40-man and 26-man roster. You need to figure out where your needs are, and those are still evolving. There is going to be a financial component to improving our major league club. The time is not right now, but I would say that we're not too far off from being able to do that. But in the meantime, let's get our organization as strong as possible with the players that we have here, continue to make good decisions. The big decision in front of us as it stands today is finding the manager that can get us to where we want to go.
One more technical question, and that is, does the new manager have had to have managerial experience at some level to be under consideration to be the White Sox manager?
We remain open-minded to all types of candidates and all types of resumes. Is it a must? I'm not going to say it's a must because I don't think it needs to be, but that level of experience also can be beneficial if the candidate is right.
Last two, Daryl.
Hey, Chris, last August, Jerry shared his disappointment on the state of the team and rather strong language, and he suggested the improvement or turnaround could come sooner rather than later. What can you share about what his feelings on how things stand right now?
Well, I certainly don't want to speak for Jerry Reinsdorf and our owner. But what I can say is he's been extremely supportive to me and our staff. This was having these conversations about making changes. They're never easy, but he understands the direction that we need to head and where we're going. And I'm very confident that he's going to be supportive along the way. He is someone that watches games closely, is a fan of the game, and certainly someone that wants the White Sox to go out there and compete and win every night. So it is hard for when we're coming up short. But with that being said, he understands where we are, and he understands the plans that we have to get us to where we need to go, and feel like we're really accomplishing something special for our fans.
James.
Would you want the new manager to pick their own staff, or are there people on the coaching staff you already have a mind towards retaining?
Probably premature to give you an accurate answer. We do have coaches here on our major league staff or in other areas of the organization that should be strongly considered. But with that being said, it starts with our manager, and then we'll kind of work from there.